Dissonance. The operating room fell silent save for the steady beep of monitors and the whisper of ventilation. Amelia Reyes held her breath as she guided the microscopic forceps toward the exposed brain tissue. 5 hours into a delicate tumor resection, and the critical moment had arrived, separating the final adhesions of the tumor from healthy brain matter. Blood pressure dropping, the anesthesiologist reported quietly. Amelia felt it begin, the familiar tightening in her chest, the slight tremor in her fingers that no one else would notice, but that felt to her like seismic activity. Not now, she pleaded silently. Please, not now. She was acutely aware of the gallery above, filled today with visiting neurosurgeons and, most intimidatingly, Dr. Ryder Maxwell himself, the owner of Aurora Medical Center, and one of the most innovative neurosurgeons in the country. He rarely observed surgeries these days, too busy running his medical empire. But something about this case had drawn him here. Dr. Reyes? Her resident's voice seemed to come from miles away. Are you proceeding? Amelia tried to move her hands forward, but they remained frozen, suspended in air above the patient's exposed brain. The tremor worsened. Her vision narrowed, darkness creeping in from the edges. She couldn't breathe, couldn't speak, couldn't move. Dr. Reyes needs assistance, a deep voice announced from behind her. She hadn't even heard the door open. A figure stepped to her side, tall, broad-shouldered, the scent of cedar and clean soap cutting through the antiseptic air. I'll take over. Dr. Ryder Maxwell. He had descended from the gallery. His presence both mortified and relieved her. I can continue, she managed, her voice barely audible. I know you can, he replied, his voice carrying a gentleness that surprised her. But you don't have to. Step back, breathe. I've got this. Something in his tone, not judgment, not disappointment, but simple understanding, allowed her to relinquish control. She stepped back, pulling her shaking hands away from the surgical field as Ryder took her place with fluid grace. His hands moved with precision and confidence, completing the delicate separation she had begun. Amelia watched, her panic slowly subsiding as his skill took over where hers had faltered. Beautiful work up to this point, he commented quietly, for her ears alone. Your approach to the temporal lobe adhesions was innovative. Was he complimenting her? In the midst of rescuing her from the most humiliating moment of her career? 30 minutes later, the tumor was removed completely. Ryder stepped back, allowing the residents to close, and gestured for Amelia to follow him out of the operating room. In the scrub area, she began washing her hands mechanically, waiting for the inevitable professional execution. How long have you been managing anxiety, Dr. Reyes? The question caught her off guard. She looked up to find his eyes, a striking hazel with flecks of gold, studying her with calm interest. No accusation, no judgment. Since medical school, she admitted, seeing no point in denial. It's usually under control. Ryder nodded, scrubbing his own hands methodically. Mine started during my residency. Full-blown panic attack during a spinal reconstruction. I dropped an instrument and nearly caused catastrophic damage. Amelia stared at him. You? A slight smile touched his lips. Is that so hard to believe? But you're... She gestured vaguely, encompassing his entire presence. The confidence, the reputation, the legend. Human, he finished. Just like you. He dried his hands and leaned against the sink. Amelia, may I call you Amelia? What happened in there doesn't define you as a surgeon. With all due respect, Dr. Maxwell, in our profession it absolutely does. She fought to keep her voice steady. I froze during critical neurosurgery. I endangered a patient. You recognized your limitation in the moment and allowed intervention, he corrected. That shows judgment and humility, rare qualities in neurosurgeons. She looked away, unconvinced. I have a proposition for you, Ryder said after a moment. I've been developing a program, combining neurological treatment with music therapy for trauma patients. We're seeing remarkable results, but I need someone with your specific skills. Amelia frowned. My skills in freezing during surgery? Your skills in understanding vulnerability, he replied. And your background in music before medicine. Yes, he added, seeing her surprise. I read your file. Concert pianist before medical school. Perfect pitch synesthesia. You literally see music as colors. That's exactly what this program needs. I'm a surgeon, Amelia said. Not a music therapist. You're both, Ryder countered. And I need both for a particular patient who arrived last week. She's non-responsive after a traumatic brain injury, but she shows unusual brain activity when exposed to certain musical frequencies. I believe someone with your combination of medical knowledge and musical sensitivity might reach her where traditional methods have failed. Amelia hesitated. Was this a genuine offer or a gentle way to remove her from surgery without public humiliation? This isn't a demotion, Ryder said, seeming to read her thoughts. It's a parallel path. You'll still perform surgeries, with me initially until your confidence returns, but you'll also help pioneer this treatment approach. He handed her a file, read about the program. Meet the patient, Lyra is her name. Then decide. Why would you trust me after what just happened? Ryder studied her for a long moment, something unreadable passing through his expression. Because 15 years ago someone took a chance on me after I dropped that instrument, he said quietly. And because I believe your sensitivity, what you see as weakness, might actually be your greatest strength with these patients. He turned to leave, then paused. 9 a.m. tomorrow, Neurology Wing, Suite 12. Whether you're coming to discuss the program or tender your resignation is your choice. His eyes held hers one final moment. I hope it's the former. As he walked away, Amelia remained still, the file in her trembling hands containing either her professional salvation or the documentation of her greatest failure. She had until morning to decide. Resonance Amelia arrived at Neurology Suite 12 at precisely 8:45 the next morning, her decision made after a night of restless deliberation. The door was unmarked except for a small musical note etched into a brass plate, an unusual detail for a hospital setting. She had nearly resigned. Her letter was drafted, revised, and printed, but curiosity about this mysterious patient Lyra and Ryder's unexpected faith in her had ultimately prevailed. When she entered, soft ambient music filled the space. Not the generic melodies piped through waiting rooms, but something complex and clearly composed with therapeutic intent. The suite looked nothing like standard hospital rooms. Soft lighting, sound-absorbing panels, and specialized equipment lined the walls. In the center sat a grand piano. You came? Ryder's voice came from a connecting office. He approached with a smile that transformed his usually serious face. I hoped you would. I'm not entirely convinced this isn't a creative way to ease me out of surgery, Amelia admitted. On the contrary, Ryder replied, gesturing to several brain scans illuminated on wall-mounted screens. These are Lyra's latest readings. I need your surgical expertise to interpret them properly. Amelia moved closer. Professional interest immediately piqued. These patterns in the temporal lobe. I've never seen activity quite like this. Exactly. Conventional approaches aren't working. Ryder stood beside her, close enough that she could detect that cedar scent again. But watch what happens when we introduce specific frequencies. He pressed a button and a pure tone at 432 Hz filled the room. On the adjacent screen, Lyra's brain scan lit up with activity. Vibrant, organized patterns spreading across previously dormant regions. That's... Amelia searched for words. Remarkable, Ryder finished. She's nonverbal, minimally responsive to all standard assessments, but her brain responds to music in ways I've never seen. Amelia studied the scans. These patterns suggest communication pathways are intact, but inaccessible through normal means. Almost like, she hesitated. Like her brain speaks a different language, Ryder suggested, one based on frequency and rhythm rather than words. Their eyes met in shared understanding, and Amelia felt an unexpected connection. The thrill of scientific discovery mingled with something more personal. When can I meet her? Amelia asked. Right now, Ryder replied, leading her through another door. The patient room was as unconventional as the rest of the suite. Soft fabrics, acoustic treatments, and musical instruments surrounded a hospital bed where a young woman lay still, her eyes open but unfocused, gazing at nothing. Lyra was strikingly beautiful, with delicate features and an unusual paleness to her skin that seemed to have a subtle, almost iridescent quality under the soft lighting. Her dark hair spread across the pillow in sharp contrast. Lyra, this is Dr. Reyes, Ryder said, his voice gentling. She's going to work with us on your treatment. No response, not even a flicker of acknowledgement. Amelia approached slowly, drawn by something in Lyra's stillness. Her accident report mentions unusual circumstances, she noted, scanning the chart. Ryder nodded. She was found in the desert miles from any road. No identification, no records matching her anywhere. Severe trauma, but the pattern of injuries doesn't match any typical accident profile. May I? Amelia gestured to the piano in the corner. At Ryder's nod, she moved to the instrument and began to play, softly at first, then with growing confidence. The monitors tracking Lyra's brain activity came alive with bursts of synchronized patterns. As Amelia played, she watched colors bloom in her mind. The synesthesia she'd experienced since childhood translating music into vibrant visual patterns. Chopin's Nocturne in a flat major flowed from her fingers, painted in blues and silvers in her perception. Most startling was Lyra's response, a single tear tracking down her cheek. "That's the first emotional response we've recorded," Ryder whispered, standing close behind Amelia, his voice filled with barely contained excitement. Amelia continued playing, modulating to different keys, watching Lyra's monitors respond to each change. After 20 minutes, she ended with a gentle diminuendo. "Your technique is beautiful," Ryder commented as she closed the piano. "You could have had a concert career." "Medicine was always my first calling," Amelia replied. "Music was my sanctuary when anxiety made medical school overwhelming." Ryder's expression softened. "That's why you understand what others miss. You know what it means to speak a different language than those around you." As they left Lyra's room, Amelia felt a conviction growing. "I want to try a systematic approach, mapping which frequencies trigger which responses, then building therapeutic sequences." "Exactly what I was hoping for," Ryder smiled. "Dinner tonight? To discuss your treatment plan," he added quickly. "Professionally, of course." Amelia hesitated, sensing the invitation balanced on the edge between colleagues and something more. "Professionally," she agreed, ignoring the flutter in her stomach that had nothing to do with anxiety. That evening, in the private dining room of an upscale restaurant overlooking the city, Amelia realized dinner to discuss treatment was more elaborate than she'd anticipated. Candles illuminated their table, and Ryder had exchanged his hospital attire for a tailored navy suit that highlighted the breadth of his shoulders. "This seems rather formal for a professional discussion," she commented, taking a sip of sparkling water. "I own the restaurant," he explained with a hint of embarrassment. "One of my diversification projects. I can't go anywhere casual without being interrupted." This glimpse of the burdens of his prominence surprised her. Over exquisite food, their conversation flowed from Lyra's treatment to broader approaches to neurological trauma. When the topic shifted to their personal lives, Amelia found herself sharing more than she'd intended. "My family expected me to choose music," she admitted. 3 generations of musicians. My decision to pursue medicine was seen as betrayal." "Expectations can be suffocating," Ryder agreed, his expression suggesting personal understanding. "The Maxwell medical dynasty spans 5 generations. Failure wasn't an option." "Is that why you created the music therapy program? Rebellion against tradition?" Ryder's eyes met hers. "I created it because 6 years ago I suffered a breakdown after losing a patient. Music was the only thing that helped me find my way back." The confession, offered simply and without pretense, created a bridge between them. By the time they parted for the evening, Amelia had not only agreed to lead the program alongside her surgical duties, but had also gained something unexpected, a sense that in Ryder Maxwell, she might have found someone who truly understood both her strengths and vulnerabilities. Harmony 3 weeks into the music therapy program, Amelia established a routine. Mornings were devoted to surgeries, with Ryder initially assisting, then gradually allowing her to take lead as her confidence returned. Afternoons belonged to Lyra and the expanding roster of neurological patients responding to the therapy approach. On this particular morning, Amelia successfully completed a challenging tumor resection entirely on her own. The sense of accomplishment carried her through the hospital corridors with renewed confidence as she headed toward Neurology Suite 12. "Remarkable progress," Ryder said, falling into step beside her. "Both with your surgery this morning and with Lyra's treatment. I'm developing a customized frequency map for each patient," Amelia explained, handing him her tablet. "Their brains respond to different tonal patterns. It's like finding the unique combination to unlock each mind." His fingers brushed hers as he took the device, the brief contact sending an unexpected warmth through her hand. These moments had been happening more frequently. Accidental touches that lingered just a moment too long. Gazes held a few seconds past professional courtesy. "The hospital board is impressed," he told her as they entered the suite. "They've approved expansion of the program to a full department with dedicated staffing." Amelia stopped. "Really?" "Really," he confirmed, his smile genuine. "And they want you to head it." Before she could process this news, a nurse hurried toward them. "Dr. Reyes, you should come quickly. Lyra is responding differently today." They rushed to Lyra's room to find her sitting upright, her gaze more focused than ever before, fingers moving purposefully across her bedsheet in distinctive patterns. "She's playing piano," Emilia realized, watching the precise fingering technique. Mozart's Sonata in C major. Emilia moved to the piano and began playing the piece. Immediately, Lyra turned toward the sound, her expression changing subtly. "Keep playing," Ryder urged, checking the monitors. Emilia continued, and when she reached a specific passage, Lyra's lips parted. Though no sound emerged, it was clearly an attempt to communicate. "She's trying to speak," Ryder whispered, moving closer to Lyra. Emilia modulated to a different key, and Lyra's fingers stilled. She returned to the original key, and the finger movements resumed. "It's like a conversation," Emilia realized. "She's responding to specific keys." For the next hour, they experimented with different musical elements. By the end, they had established a rudimentary communication system. Certain chords elicited responses. Particular progressions seemed to convey meaning. "This is unprecedented," Ryder said afterward, excitement coloring his voice as they reviewed the data in his office. "Her brain is rewiring itself, finding alternate pathways for communication." "It's beautiful to witness," Emilia agreed. "Like watching someone find their voice again." Ryder's eyes met hers. "You made this possible." "We did," she corrected. The moment expanded between them, charged with unspoken connection. Ryder moved closer, his hand covering hers on the desk. "Emilia," the intercom interrupted. "Dr. Maxwell to the administrative office." The spell broke. Ryder stepped back, professional composure returning. "The hospital fundraiser is tomorrow evening," he said. "Your presence would be valuable when we present the program results." "Of course," Emilia agreed, ignoring the lingering warmth on her skin where his hand had touched hers. The fundraiser transformed the hospital atrium into an elegant venue, with Aurora's wealthy donors mingling among displays highlighting innovative treatments. The music therapy program featured prominently, with videos showing patient responses and brain scan comparisons. Emilia wore a simple emerald gown that complemented her olive skin and dark hair. As she explained the program to interested donors, she occasionally caught Ryder watching her from across the room, something unreadable in his expression. Later, as a string quartet played, he approached. "Dance with me," he said quietly. "For the donors," he added, though his eyes suggested another reason entirely. On the small dance floor, his hand rested lightly at the small of her back, guiding her with the same precision he displayed in surgery. The professional distance they maintained daily dissolved with each step. "You've transformed the program beyond what I imagined," he told her, his voice low enough that only she could hear. "You've transformed much more than that." Emilia looked up, finding his face closer than expected. "Ryder, we should maintain professional boundaries, and should we?" His question was gentle but direct. "Is that what you want?" Before she could answer, he guided her through a doorway onto a secluded balcony overlooking the hospital gardens. Stars glittered above them, the music now distant. "I haven't been able to stop thinking about you," he admitted. "Not just your work with Lyra, though that's extraordinary. You, Emilia." Her heart raced, but for once anxiety wasn't the cause. "This is complicated. You're essentially my boss." "We're colleagues," he corrected. "Equals in different specialties. With very different circumstances," she countered. "You own the hospital." "A technicality," he smiled slightly. "One I'd gladly ignore if you'd allow me to." He stepped closer, his hand gently tracing her cheek. "Tell me to stop, and I will." Emilia knew she should. Professional ethics, hospital politics, her own careful boundaries, all demanded distance. Instead, she found herself leaning into his touch. Their first kiss was tentative, a question. The second answered with certainty. His arms encircled her, solid and reassuring as her hands found the nape of his neck. What began as gentle exploration deepened into something more urgent, years of professional restraint giving way to undeniable attraction. When they finally broke apart, both slightly breathless, Emilia felt a clarity she hadn't expected. No anxiety, no doubt, just certainty. "We should return to the fundraiser," she whispered against his lips. "Before we're missed." "Tomorrow," he said, his forehead resting against hers. "Dinner at my place. No professional pretenses." Dissonance. Return's dawn found Emilia already at the hospital, drawn by an early morning text from the night nurse. Lyra had spoken. One word repeated several times during the night. Home. When Amelia entered the room, she found Lyra more animated than ever before. Her gaze tracking movements, fingers tapping complex rhythms against the bedsheets. "Good morning, Lyra," Amelia said, approaching slowly. Lyra's head turned, eyes focusing directly on Amelia's face, the first true eye contact since her arrival. Her lips parted, forming shapes without sound, then, "Help." Amelia's heart raced. "I am helping you, Lyra. We're making progress." Lyra shook her head, frustration evident. Her fingers moved more insistently, tapping patterns that seemed deliberate. Amelia recognized it wasn't random, it was structured like code. Before she could decipher further, alarms blared throughout the hospital. Code blue in neurosurgery. Amelia's pager vibrated simultaneously. She was being summoned urgently. "I'll be back," she promised Lyra, who watched her leave with an intensity that felt almost desperate. In neurosurgery, chaos reigned. A post-operative patient had developed a hemorrhage, requiring immediate intervention. With the attending surgeon stuck in traffic, Amelia was the neurosurgeon on site. "Pressure's dropping," a nurse reported as Amelia assessed the situation. "We need to evacuate the hematoma now." Amelia felt the familiar tightening in her chest, the first tremor in her fingers. "Not now," she pleaded silently. A life depended on her steadiness. "Dr. Reyes, do we proceed?" the resident asked, uncertainty in his voice. Images of her previous freeze flashed in her mind, the humiliation, Ryder stepping in, the consequences. But this time Ryder wasn't here. This life depended on her alone. Taking a deep breath, Amelia closed her eyes briefly. In her mind, she heard the music she played for Lyra. Structured, flowing, precise. She allowed the melody to fill her consciousness, colors blooming behind her eyelids. When she opened her eyes, her hands were steady. "10-blade," she requested calmly. She worked with focused precision, evacuating the hematoma and securing the bleeding vessel. The procedure was textbook perfect, her anxiety held at bay by the music playing in her mind. As she closed, the door opened. Hospital Administrator Patricia Stern entered, observing silently. Behind her stood Ryder, his expression unreadable. Once the patient was stabilized and transferred to recovery, Amelia exited to find them waiting. "Impressive work, Dr. Reyes," Administrator Stern commented coolly. "Especially given your history." Amelia straightened. "The patient is stable. The bleed is contained." "Fortunately," Stern agreed. "Dr. Maxwell, I believe we have matters to discuss regarding the supervision protocols for Dr. Reyes." Ryder's jaw tightened. "Amelia performed flawlessly, Patricia. After her previous incident, protocols require supervision for all surgeries for at least 6 months, Stern countered. "Protocols you yourself helped establish." The reminder stung. Ryder had created these rules, yet had gradually allowed Amelia more independence. "We should continue this discussion privately," Ryder suggested. "Actually," Stern replied, "I'd like Dr. Reyes to join us. There are other matters concerning her involvement with the Maxwell Music Therapy Program that require clarification." The tension in the administrative conference room was palpable as Stern laid out her concerns. Inappropriate relationship between supervisor and subordinate, she enumerated clinically. Violation of surgical supervision protocols. And most concerning, withholding information about patient Lyra's condition and origins. Amelia's head snapped up. "What information?" Stern's eyebrow raised. "Now you haven't told her, Dr. Maxwell?" Ryder's expression darkened. "I was waiting for confirmation." "Confirmation of what?" Amelia demanded. Stern slid a folder across the table. "Lyra's blood work contains unidentifiable proteins and cellular structures. DNA sequencing reveals patterns never documented in human genomic research." Amelia stared at the data, uncomprehending. "What are you suggesting?" "That Lyra may not be entirely human," Stern stated bluntly. "Government agencies have been discreetly involved since her arrival." Amelia turned to Ryder, betrayal washing over her. "You knew this?" "I suspected," he admitted. "The unusual circumstances of her discovery, her unique neurological patterns. I've been working with specialists to understand her condition, while using me to develop communication methods." Amelia realized, the pieces falling into place. Was that all this program was? A way to communicate with her? Was that all I was? "Amelia, no." Ryder reached for her hand, but she pulled away. Dr. Maxwell's personal interest in you complicated an already sensitive situation, Stern interjected. The board is concerned about both your professional judgment and Dr. Maxwell's objectivity. My professional judgment? Amelia echoed, anger rising. I just successfully managed an emergency craniotomy. I've developed groundbreaking therapy techniques for neurological trauma. Techniques specifically targeted to communicate with a potentially non-human entity, Stern clarified, without being fully informed of the situation. Amelia stood abruptly. I need to see Lyra. That won't be possible, Stern replied. She's been transferred to a specialized facility. When? Amelia demanded. During your surgery, Ryder admitted quietly. I couldn't stop it. The betrayal cut deep. Last night on the balcony, his kisses, his promises, all while knowing Lyra would be taken away, knowing he had kept crucial information from her. The board will review your positions, Stern concluded, rising. Until then, Dr. Reyes is suspended from surgical duties and the music therapy program is temporarily halted. After Stern left, silence stretched between Amelia and Ryder. I was protecting you, he finally said. Involving you in classified information could have endangered your career. Don't. Amelia's voice was cold. You didn't trust me as a doctor or as... She couldn't finish the sentence. Everything between us was real, Ryder insisted. Separate from Lyra's situation. Nothing is separate, Amelia countered, moving toward the door. You made sure of that when you kept me in the dark. As she walked away, Ryder called after her. Amelia, Lyra is in danger. And she was trying to communicate something critical before they took her. Something only you might understand. Amelia paused, hand on the doorknob. Despite everything, her concern for Lyra overrode her anger. What was she trying to communicate? That she's not alone, Ryder said quietly. And that others are coming.